Okay, just a very quick, presentation of what the Sforim Akdoshim say regarding, Vayi Bayom Shemini. It's the 8th day after the Shivas Yemei Miluim, and which was Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and that's when the Avodah passes to Aaron. During the 7 days of Miluim, Moshe Rabbeinu was Meshamish, with a Cholok Lov on Shebo Imra, and they also put up the Mishkan and taking it down, putting up and taking it down. And Yom HaShmini is when, it passes to Aaron, who has the regular big day kahuna, and that's when it's a binyan adeyat, it doesn't get disassembled until further notice, until they have to be told that they have to move somewhere. And yet all this is against the backdrop of the tragedy that happened with Nadav and Avihu. And yet we're taught, Bekrova Kadesh, Vapre Kavod, Moshe Rabbeinu said, now we see that they were bigger than the two of us. So it's like a duality over there. And to understand all these things is what it says in the Sforim. That the Mishkan was really to recreate Earth. That, as you know, everything that's usher to do on Shabbos, we learn from the Mishkan, which means that everything that went into the Brias HaMishkan is the same technology that went into Brias Shemayim V'Aretz. That's what the Gemara in Bracha says, Yodea B'tzal L'tzarf Oisias Shenu Ben Shemayim V'Aretz. He had the whole Chachma of Maisa Bereishis, because that's the technology that got invested in Lechus HaMishkan, and like Chazal say many places, it says, V'amal so b'chachma tzvuno b'das, and just like a Koshku was Bardi Olam, that says Hashem b'chachma yasar eretz, konin shemayim b'tzvuna, b'dato tomos nivku. And there's a Tanchum in Parshas Pekudei that darshans, parallels between everything that there is in existence, and it all has a parallel in the Mishkan. That really the Mishkan was a project to recreate Earth, because unfortunately the Earth got tainted twice. Earth got tainted.
What's the difference between the first day and the second day, third day, fourth day? So that the Earth was created in stages.
Right.
But the Mishkan, they did the same thing every day, didn't they? What did they do?
Okay, so we're going to discuss that in a second, in a way that, in what way the Mishkan represented the whole of reality. But, twice the Earth got tainted. It got tainted with Chet Adam Rishon. And that wasn't just a failure of man, but also Arura Hadama Ba'avurecha. Right, and then it happened again. Cheta Egel, that there was a Havamina that Yisrael, that Shomdu Arsinai Paska Zu Masan, but that didn't last and didn't endure to the full extent, because when the Cheta Egel happened, so things regressed. Not as bad as it was, but because we're still Jewish and we still have the Torah, but still the space got defiled again, and that's the of what was needed to be a Mishkan, and subsequently a Beis HaMikdash, as a word that represented a mini world, and that would be sterile space where the Shekhinah could dwell, because in the rest of the original plan was v'shachanti b'socham, literally. Unfortunately not, so it has to be in the Mishkan, and that's what Navi says. L'asid lavov nasatis mishkani b'sochachem. The Navi says in Yecheskel. Then it will be literal. Then if there'll be sidrei avodah, but the Shekhinah will be everywhere.
It says b'socham, not b'sochachem.
What in the?
It's very strange that Shammos says. It says in Nasati.
Oh no, you're talking about V'shachanti b'socham in Parshas. Yeah, I'm saying, but the Navi, the Navi in Yecheskel is talking about in the future. Yeah, that's in Chumash.
Well, what does b'socham really mean? It's not b'sochachem, is it?
I guess it could be understood both ways. It could be understood literally also, but it didn't. But it wasn't. We weren't zochata. But lasi lo will be besochachem, like the Navi says. Lasi lovo will be literal. Shekhinah will be everywhere. Right. So the Mishkan represented the recreation of the world, And that explains the Lashon marriage that Vayi B'Yom Hashmini, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu got simcha from that day, Kiyom Brias Shamayim V'Aretz. Yeah? But it was going to be not just like a new world, but even one step higher, and to get to the Madrega that Adam Mauritian, in a cordoned-off area, right? But only a cordoned-off area, reach the Madrega that Adam Mauritian was, meant to reach, but sadly he didn't. Right, and that is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world in 7 days, right? But the world that was created in 7 days may have been a pure world, right? But still, there's a higher madrega, the madrega of kedusha, right? That would have been chulin b'tahara, right? Everything is chol but tahor, not adulterated with evil, right? And that's the Inyan that you'll find that as we're going to in these upcoming parshas, Tazria, Mitzora, right? And we're going to get to parshas Chukas. All Inyonei Tumah are in 7. Right? All Inyonei Tumah are in 7. The maximum being Tumah is Tumah. It's in multiples of 7. Tumah, Shiva Yamin. And when you become tar from Tumas Meis, you need Hazah and Shlishi and Shvi, right? All 7. On the 8th day, you bring your korbanos, kachim, right? You bring your korbanos, right? So the world was pure, but those 7 midas, this is connected to 7 days a week, got defiled, right? But there's a higher level. Even after all the 7 are pure, right? There's to add the 8th level. That's kedusha. And this 8th level, right, is right. It's also referred to sometimes as Chazal as the one and only. Like, for instance, in the big picture, Yishita Fishtin Have Alma, the Chad Choruv, the 7th millennium is the grand Shabbos, everything is shut down. Ulesof Elef Shana, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Chozer U'Mechadesh Olamo. At the end of the 1,000 years, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to renew his world. That the 8th millennium is like a new world. It's like so and you have to understand, if it's a new world, in what way is it the 8th? As if it's a hemshech of everything that came before it. And where it's where we found an allusion to it in the parsha we just read. With Shvi Shel Pesach, Oz Yashir Moshe. So in the future, Remes Tchias Amesim Min HaTorah, right? The new world, everything. So it's Oz, and that's an aleph on top of the Zion. Gematria 8, but now see how it's structured. Aleph on top of Zion, or like the 8th day of Sukkot. It's called Yom Hashmini, but it's a regel b'fnei atzmo. Right, so the 8th, is like, on the one hand, it's like its own level, but yet it's still called the 8th. That's a part of a series, right? Now we have, and we have the same thing also, that, Shavuos is called the 50th day, which is after you get past the 7 times 7. So it's like the breakthrough to the realm of 8, because you get past the permutations of 7. It's called the 50th day, and yet we don't count it. It's not part of the series. We only count 49 days. So there's duality, right? That it's the 8th, as if it's a hamshech of a series, but yet it's a madrega b'fnei atzma, right? And and because really there's 2 points over here, right? That besides that kedusha, which is the 8th level, right? Is it's like the lashon implies, it is kadosh nivdal, it is beyond, right? But it's built out of, right? It's a whole nother madrega, but it's built out of the 7, right? How so? Because that which we say that all the kochos of 7, right, are they're chol and not kodesh, right? So even if they're tahor, right, but it's a chisaron that they're not kodesh. And you know where that chisaron comes from? That chisaron comes from the fact that they're not integrated with each other. Each koach is levad, so if it's tahor, but it's limited to what it is, right? It doesn't get beyond. It doesn't get to the nivdal, because it stays within its gvul. You know where the power of 8 comes from? From the adding things up together. When things now come together in different sirufim, right? So that's when they could break out of their gvul, because they're coalescing with something else. That's when they break out of their boundary, and they could go into the next dimension of kodesh. They could get beyond. When every koch is levad, it's stuck in its gvul. When the kochos interact, they liberate each other. The integration, you
The
know,
sum is greater than the sum of its parts.
exactly,
The total
right?
is greater than the sum of its parts.
And not only does it make kedusha, not only does it make kedusha, but it also, when it reaches kedusha, that's when it's forever. That's when it's forever. The kochos keshem la'atzmom cannot last, right? They're finite,
This is the energy that's derived by fusion, the hydrogen bomb,
right?
which is far greater than the energy that's derived by splitting it apart.
Excellent. That's right.
Analogy?
Excellent. I love the analogy. I didn't even think of it, but that's right. That's right. The energy of fusion versus the energy of fission. Right. Exactly. Right. So now this is all mushrosh, right? In what's brought down in Zohar and was explained at great length in the Torah of the Ari, right? That there was Shvira Sakelim, right? That Kadosh Baruch Hu, at the time when he created the world, the Or and the Kli, were not congruent, and the Or, the Kalim could not be sovel the Or, which is a chisaron in the Kalim, but the Or also was not really making an effort to be on the level of the Kli either, right? So and so the Kalim broke, and in Kabbalah Biadenu, that out of the 10 Kalim of the Esther spheres, what broke were the 7 lower ones, which are the 7 that we call Teva, and these are the 7 Midas that are shaykh to becoming tainted, because they were already broken. They already have like cracks in them. That's what makes them shaykh, right? Shaykh to to Shvira. Now, part of why they were shaykh to Shvira, aside from that they weren't big enough to be sovel the big Or, right? But another thing is that they weren't ba'achdus, right? Each, the kilkul in them is because each koach wanted to be on its own, and it's all marumas in the parsha of El Mochav Shemochu Beretz and Oflei Mochim Belach Bnei. So the Zohar says it right there. It refers to the kalim that broke. Those are the malachim kadmoin demisu, and that's why kalim shvirasam zui misasam, like we say in Baba Kama, right? And 7 kings, Vayimlach Vayamos, because every Mida wanted to be the Melech, wanted to be Ani Va'af Siod, and that's why they broke. Except came to the 8th Melech, Hadar, beauty, he didn't die. And it mentions that he was married. V'shem Ishto Mei Tavo Bas Matred Bas Mei Zahav, right? That's the Melech that endured, right? Because the Midas that couldn't be Sevdor is because each one was into itself, and therefore limited to itself, and it can't be sevel diore in Sophie. But when the kalim work together, and they're all pone l'shem shamayim, which is besod, they're pone to malchus shamayim, the meat of malchus, right? So then mitzad, how they're mitached, they could supplement each other, and then they could hold the or, right? Because they become greater than the sum of the parts is greater, right? So and that's
So that's the deeper meaning in the Gemara. It says, "Enkli ha-maksik bracha ala
Hashalom. That's 100% correct. It's mamash the omek pshat over there, but it's also pshat and call a shori below isha, shori below Torah, shori below bracha, because the meat of malchus is called the nukva. They're all being as it were. It's called that they weren't married. The king that was married, he didn't die, because he's poned to his wife beside beside the Shechina, like the Tomer Dvorah says, that you're dvekus b'Shechina, the mashal is dvekus in your wife is dvekus b'Shechina, like Rav Yosef said, he got up for his mother, I'm getting up for the Shechina, besod ima ilah, right? And that's that if a person's not married, he's shari below bracha, he's shari without anything. The Ishbitzer says in this week's parsha, he says, he said the bachelors, right? They have no kvias in anything. He writes this, because so even if he has a career, he gets swept up in his career, and because he gets swept up in his career, he has nothing left of it, even of the career. But if he's married, he feels an achrayas to bring those resources home and to hold on to those. There should be a davar shel kayama, so he invested wisely, and it's right, because he's anchored and he has a purpose. When he has no purpose, so what he thinks is his purpose really sweeps him up, right? and he just, he thinks he's building his career. His career is really, he runs after his career. As opposed to if he's married, then, then it all becomes tougher and therefore becomes a davar shel kayama. He makes sure that there's a real hashara of it to build his house, to bring it home, and build the bias. To build the bias. And that saying of kiddusha is also kiddushin, marriage, right? That on that level, that's where there's integration, like v'hoil basar echad, and that's where the dimension of shechina shar benem, because when there's fusion, fusion makes shaykh to hold the or, right? Or klach l'derech zu, when you want to make fusion, you get siyata dishma, because that's what Kadosh Baruch Hu wants also. That's why zachu shechina shar benem. Right, it's the madrega of kedusha schal with integration. With integration, Mimela, this, everything that's happening, in the shivas yemei miluim, connected the 7 days of Ma'aser Bereishis, but connected the 7 meters that broke, and every day, right, they took the Mishkan apart again, connected the shvira of that meter. But kayadua, but at least they're making a hachana for making the integration. So you have Moshe Rabbeinu, he's mishamish b'cholok lavan shelo imra, representing koach ein sofi. Of course, the kalim can't hold that koach, but the kalim being exposed to that koach is a hachana for their being reformed. Right on the 8th day is when the Mishkan holds together. So all the 7 days was being mechen each of the 7 kochos for integration. Perhaps with an ore bigger than what it could hold, but it will be able to hold that ore when it gets integrated. Right? So it's a achara to be connected to, and with the integration on the Yom HaShmini, right? And that integration of all the kochos of the Mishkan, all the components being pulled together, that in the Olamis also makes it that all the kochos now are being pulled together in a framework, that the kochos are not separate anymore. They're being pulled together, right? In a mahalach, right? And now the kahuna could pass to Aaron, with the big day kahuna with colors that represents kalim, right? And now the or could settle in kalim because the kalim are ba'achdus and supplement each other, and now they can hold the or. And then there's this integration, right? There's this integration, right? And now the or will be lefi what the kli could hold, right? None of an avil weren't integrated; they weren't married. It's one of the chatoim that they had was that they weren't nosei isha, right? And they were too wrapped up in the pursuit of elokus, and they weren't poned to putting it in kalim. That's what it represents. Also, that they were mechusrei begodim. Right? They were mechusrei begodim. They didn't have kalim, right? They were so wrapped up, all or without kli. All or without kli. Now, on the one hand, it shows that they were lahut achara or, and it really means that they had no place in olam hazeh. They were too big for olam hazeh. Like Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu represents the Or Ein Sofi that makes a hachana for the integration, but in itself can only get integrated through Aaron. The Or itself is way too big for the Kalim. He has to be mashpia to Aaron. From there, it gets in, and that's the inyan. Then this week's parsha is the parsha of kashrus, because what you eat is integration, right? What you eat is integration.
Man isst was man esst.
Yeah, no, and that's what it means. Hashta that now there's no best way,
Is that
shuch.
in the German class? In your Rose Edelstone? Man isst was man esst? You didn't have it? Did you ever hear the expression, man isst was man esst? You are what you eat?
Yeah, I heard that. I heard
Nobody understands it in English because it doesn't make any sense in English.
No.
I heard
You
that
are what you
expression.
eat.
They prove it.
But in German, it's the same word.
The way they prove this thing, they say when you give a chicken to eat garlic, then the egg that comes out,
Tastes like garlic.
yeah.
Yeah.
Then you are what you eat. That's the way.
No, but it's a board. Over here, the two go together. It's about integration. Then now the doimim is nichlal on the tzomech, and the tzomech is nichlal on the chai, and the odam that's supposed to be the walking base of mikdash. And now we don't have mizbech kapar shulchan hashadam mechaper alav. The power of integration. The power of integration, and that's what it says in the Mesilas Yesharim. He first goes through in the matter. First, you have tahara. And that's why he beats up on you. You should be eating less and eating less and eating less. If you ever, everyone actually, most people give up in the Nikias. But if you ever finish the Sefer, when he gets through Chasidus and then he gets to Tahara, he has you almost living on nothing, right? Oh, you have to be parish, That's part of being pure. But then when you reach the final chapter book, Kedusha, right? You reach the Kedusha, now fakir, eat. Because for your eating, because achilaso kekarbonis, v'shtiyaso kenesachim, the kadosh should eat. And Adarabah, because when things get integrated in him, because he's a kadosh, he pulls things together. Right? And through him, what the Mishkan was, to pull the Kosabrias, that's what every kadosh could be. And when a person zocha to be a tzaddik and the Shechina shora on him, right? So he says his eating is like karbonis. And that's kashrus, the laws of eating, what we can eat and what we can't eat, what could be incorporated into the tzelem, and what has to, and what's, has to be pushed out of reality. Like, so, in the Mishkan, you pushed out kol tzaruah, kol zav, and kol tamei lenefesh. So also the minim tmeim have to be pushed out. Right, the laws of kashrus parallel, right? The koach that's being nizgala over here. The power of integration that adds and the power of integration adds what adds kedusha, and that level of kedusha which gets built out of the integration, that's what's left of the first 7, because all those first 7, as they are ought to be nisbato. The hashora hanitzchis, right? The eternal remnant is in the 8th, and in that way the 8th is separate from the rest because it's eternal and the rest were finite, but the 8th is built up of the aspects of the 7 that got elevated, but they got elevated by integration. Right? One last point, it's just a chashvin akudah in Ishbitzer philosophy, in Hasidus, they try to take the Yesodus of Kabbalah and connect it to the human situation. So he says this whole Yinakusha was shover the Kalim and then rebuilt out of them. Just like over here, there was the Miluim, and you build, and you took it down, then you rebuilt it. It says because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to create the koach hatza'aka, create the cosmic power of letting out a scream. The cosmic scream is like the pasuk in him, ki nisatani v'tashecheni. Ribosham, you raised me up and then you threw me away. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted to give the whole bria that taina, to demand HaKadosh Baruch Hu to bring it back. Right? So he first created us and then broke us, and we have a taina. It's the koach hatza'aka that there is in the bria, which is the koach of tefillah, that gives us a taina to demand from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to raise us up and improve our situation, because we were created initially in a good matzav, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that's to create the koach hataina, the koach hatza'aka, to demand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu raise us up and bring us to help us attain greatness, because that's where we came from. So we have a Tana to Ribar Shalom to bring us back there. All right, this is what we want to explain. Can you give Tzvi